Hello, this is Allie with the Perception Trainers, author of The Perception Diet, and today I want to talk to you about how the law of attraction served us in our expansion and why I believe we are ready to expand out of the law of attraction into something new. So, to get started, what exactly is the law of attraction? What am I talking about here when I talk about the law of attraction? So essentially, the law of attraction states that like frequency attracts like frequency. Okay? So, unlike magnets, where like a negative pole attracts a positive pole and like poles repel each other, in the law of attraction, we are talking frequency or vibration or kind of like an energetic, resonance attracts the similar frequency, vibration, resonance. Okay? So, what this means for us in everyday life, it means that the dominant vibration that you are carrying, okay, which comes from belief systems, which create thought patterns, which create emotions, all right? So, the feelings in your heart center are what determines what your dominant vibrations are. So this is going to be based on your foundational beliefs about life and about the world. This determines your vibration, all right, which then determines the experiences that you resonate with here on the planet Earth, okay? So when we look at these foundational beliefs, all right, so these foundational beliefs about like what you believe about yourself, what you believe about the world, which is really the same thing, right? Because you are the universe is you. What you believe about yourself is what you believe about the world. This is going to determine, like I say, because of the free will, we get to decide how we interpret our experiences here on the planet. What this means is that, your belief systems about yourself and about the world have a huge impact on how you feel about your life, and therefore the experiences that you have based on your perceptions, based on your belief systems, based on your emotional state on the earth. Okay, so this kind of law of attraction based universe, if we had never invented the shadow, would have been the greatest thing ever. Okay? So if we had known ourselves to be who we truly are, which is divinity, which is light, which is all that is, right? We would be creating, vibrationally speaking, from that frequency, right? So everything that matched that completely unlimited, completely excited, ecstatic, exploratory, believing amazing things about yourself and amazing things about the world, that would have created a whole bunch of mirroring back at you of experiences just like that. And like I say, so if we had stayed kind of in that, right? If we had never fallen, okay, so, and again, I'm going to go into that in a little bit, but if we had never fallen, if we had never invented the shadow, if we had never perceived ourselves to be less than divinity, this law of attraction universe would have been, like I say, kind of like the most amazing playground that could ever have existed in the universe, right? Because we would have been experiencing in 3D reality our divinity. It wouldn't have just been something we knew as a concept, which is essentially what is happening on all other dimensions where physicality is not a part of the experience, right? It's that in these other realms, and even like when you go into meditation and you experience yourself as something greater than what you are, you're having a non-physical experience, right? You're having a mental, emotional experience of yourself as divinity, right? But imagine having that experience in the 3D plane, right? That would have been amazing. And this is what I believe was kind of the first and foremost intention of coming to a law of attraction based 3D reality experience. It's like I say, if we had stayed with the foundational belief, and again, it wouldn't have been a belief, if we had stayed with the foundational understanding that we are divinity, and that carried through our beliefs, to our thoughts, to our thought patterns, to our emotions, and therefore to our manifestations, this would have been like the most amazing Atlantean right? Like, just absolutely stunning place to be, because we would have been creating from that point, right? But what actually happened is that there was a fall. There, at some point along the line, we invented shadow. We invented this idea that we could be separate from divinity, right? There was division. There was a splitting. There was, at some point, we came to this agreement that we could be outside of divinity, that we could be outside of nature, that we could be outside of the oneness with all that is. And this created shadow, right? Which then started to form our belief systems about ourselves, which then formed our thoughts, formed our emotions, and formed our experience in 3D reality, because that's how it works, right? The system didn't change. It's that we changed within the system. You see what I'm saying? So because of this fall, because we started to have limiting beliefs about ourselves, because we started to believe that we were less than divinity, because we started to believe that we were outside of divinity, we started to have experiences that mirrored that. You see what I'm saying? Because the law of attraction didn't say, oh no, that's a false belief, we're not going to reflect that back to you, right? Because it's not like that. It's just a law. It just operates. So what this means is that when people fall into, and interestingly enough, at this point, people are born into this now, right? We're born into shadow. And maybe we're not born into it. So I guess the jury is kind of out on that. Like, if babies believe that they are less than divinity, I don't necessarily believe that that's true. I kind of think that babies come in knowing their divinity, and then, like I say, we're socially conditioned, sometimes from very, 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 very early on, to believe that we are less than, because we are raised by parents who believe they're less than. We're raised in a society that believes it's less than, right? It's the dominant vibration of Earth right now that we are separate from divinity. And therefore, we continue to attract experiences that reflect that back to us. Okay? So this is why people say that the law of attraction is essentially learning who we are via experiencing what we're not. Right? Because we are having all of these experiences that feel terrible, right? That feel hard, and that feel like struggle, and that feel like torture and pain and suffering and all of this, because of our foundational belief that we are separate from divinity. And like I say, because of the cascade of how the law of attraction works, we are going to continue to experience that experience because that's what we believe, right? And that's what determines our vibration, and therefore that's our experience, right? So I think the other thing that I quickly want to say is that life is set up to liberate us. All right? Life is fully and completely set up to liberate us. The experiences that we're having, all right? So the actual experiences, if we could view them through no lens, if we could view them through no lens of pain, no lens of suffering, no lens of religion, no lens of government, no lens of being less than divinity, there would be no pain and there would be no suffering. Okay? We would be having this lifetime experience through the lens of knowing that we were divinity, and everything would be a reflection of that, right? You would, you would work your job, you would do whatever you're doing. I don't know what the planet would look like if we were totally in that vibration. You see what I'm saying? But we would have experiences, and they would not be painful because there would be no painful belief attached to it. You see what I'm saying? But because we have all these painful beliefs, this sets us up to be antagonistic towards life. So even though life is simply trying to show us who we really are, life is trying to liberate us, life is trying to, life is simply reflecting back to us the divinity that is there, we can't see it because of our vibration causing the layers of perception to be filtered through shadow. Okay? So this is why the law of attraction at this point, many spiritual teachers are talking about it, that it's no longer working for us. Because the thing is, in order to shift yourself out of that shadowy, everything is a reflection of the shadow inside of you, and so therefore, you have these negative foundational beliefs which simply just continue to be reinforced by your experience, because that's how it works, right? The law of attraction is simply reflecting back to you what you believe. And if you don't believe that, and like I say, most people look at their experience and say, well, see, I believe I'm a piece of shit, and my boss treats me like a piece of shit, and my boyfriend treats me like I'm a piece of shit, and all of these bad things keep happening to me, so therefore it's true, right? Like, I have all of this evidence to support that I am a piece of shit, because look at my life. When in fact, the way that it really works is that because you believe you're a piece of shit, that's why you perceive all of these things to be reinforcing that you are a piece of shit, right? But that's not actually the truth of who you are. But because we get so caught up in that, right, and it feels so real, and it looks so real, and we're having an experience, right, in order to shift out of that, it requires just incredible amounts of discipline and will and mental discipline to shift yourself out of that vibration. And this is where I'm seeing spiritual teachers saying, you know, fuck the law of attraction, we need something different. Because this is the problem with it. Like I say, if we had stayed in the understanding that we were divinity, this law of attraction thing would have just, like, we just would have been begetting divinity, and having these amazing experiences, and having our divinity be reinforced to us over and over and over again via the law of attraction. But because we fell into shadow, right, we're all having this shadow be reinforced in us over and over and over again via the law of attraction. And so, like I say, in order to realize yourself as divinity, in order to start to, you know, climb these kind of like ascension, enlightenment ladders, it requires incredible force of will, because you have to ignore your reality, in a sense, for a little while, right? Eventually you will start to see, once you kind of climb out of it a little bit, that everything is just trying to liberate you, and all of those experiences that you once thought were reinforcing how terrible you were start to become experiences that reinforce how amazing you are, and that you are divinity. But in the beginning, it requires that you essentially look around and say, you know what? All of my reality, in my perception, here in the law of attraction, is reflecting back to me that I'm a piece of shit, but I have to ignore that. And I have to start to believe something that's completely out of alignment with what I see and what I'm experiencing in order to shift my vibration enough that I can start to see and experience those things. Do you see what I'm saying? This is why the law of attraction has kind of been a rough ride for most of us, right? Because in order to shift your vibration enough that you start to experience yourself as divinity, there is a period of time where you feel so shitty, and you feel so shadowy, and you feel so emotionally and mentally entrenched in your experience of your shadow that you have to ignore your reality. You have to ignore your emotions. You have to really override everything you're experiencing and believe for something that you probably don't even know exists. Right? You have to have faith that there is light inside of you. You have to have faith that even though all of these negative emotions are what you're feeling right now, that they're not real. You have to constantly be questioning your thoughts and questioning your experiences and questioning your beliefs. And like I say, eventually the law of attraction works along with you. And like when you really like hardcore choose to shift your perspective in a direction that is completely opposite to what you're experiencing, you will start to experience those things. But like I say, it's very difficult. And this is why most of us get trapped in our shadow and never get out, right? Because like I say, because of the law of attraction, it requires that in order to shift your vibration, you have to shift from the inside. You have to absolutely ignore everything you're feeling and everything that you're thinking, and everything that you're experiencing in order to come into alignment with a new vibration. And that's hard. It's just hard work, and this is the bottom line of it. And this is why I think for a long time there have been so few souls that have liberated themselves to this degree, is because it's such hard work. It literally requires absolute dedication. And I can tell you, like, from my own experience, I have completely shifted my vibration in a lot of ways from where I was to where I am now, and it was a full-time job. Like, this is the bottom line of it. For the last 5 years, I've been absolutely 100% committed to questioning my negative beliefs, to questioning my foundational beliefs, to shifting my vibration, to not allowing what is happening to me to be viewed through the lens of victimhood, to be viewed through the lens of pain and suffering, and to truly choose to believe when nothing inside of me wanted to believe, and nothing inside of me felt like anything, and nothing in my experience proved that everything was trying to bless me. Okay? And so, like I'm saying, this law of attraction is really hard work to climb out of when you're in shadow. So, because of this, okay, here's the magicalness of it. Because the law of attraction has been so difficult for us to shift out of, and because it has been so incredibly miraculous at reinforcing our shadow that we made up, it has caused the light workers of this planet, and maybe everyone, to subconsciously or consciously call in a different way of being. Okay? It has caused us. We have law of attraction to ourselves via our struggle within the law of attraction, a new way of living. Okay? And it's new. And not a lot of people are doing it. And it's very, very cutting edge, I would say, at this point. That we can shift ourselves so that we no longer have to play within the law of attraction. Okay? And the way we do this, okay, and it's hidden in plain sight, it's pretty obvious, is we choose to love our shadows. Okay, so let me say that again. The way to shift out of the law of attraction, which states that you're going to have to work really, 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 really hard to shift your vibration in order to realize yourself as divinity, right? In order to get out of that into a much easier system of realizing who you are. So rather than this opposite mirror, right? So right now in the law of attraction, we are having this opposite mirror, right? We are being reflected shadow over and over and over again because that's what we believe exists. So it's like we're having this opposite mirror all the time. In order to shift into the true mirror, where life can start to reflect back to you the divinity that is within you, right? So you're not learning who you are via who you're not. You start to learn who you are via who you are, right? It is by loving your shadow. And that's why this self-love movement is so fucking important, okay? Because it's the only way to shift out of this law of attraction that continues to keep us in this negative shadow spiral, okay? And I'll explain to you why. When we shift into loving our shadows, okay? When we give ourselves love, when everything inside of us tells us we need to hate ourselves, we need to beat up on ourselves, we need to be mad at ourselves, right? When that part of you that knows that you're divinity and knows that you're connected to everything and knows that you are love and knows that you are grace and knows that you are all of these things, views the part of you that judges, that condemns, that is antithetical to life in general, right? That is where that division occurs, right? That's the division. There's the part of you that understands the divinity and wants to live like that, and the part of you that it keeps getting sucked back into shadow, right? When you love your shadow, you unite, okay? You bring back together the parts of you that were divided. You bring your shadow back into light, just like in the other video I made about shadow, okay? So go watch that video if you don't know what I'm talking about shadow. You bring your shadow back into light, and because of that, you shift your vibration to a place where you start to learn via the law of grace. Okay? So that's what we're shifting into. We are law of attractioning ourselves out of the law of attraction into the law of grace, into true mirror. Okay? And you might even say that this new paradigm is simply the law of attraction, right? Just now we're being reflected our divinity rather than our shadow. And I mean, fine, if you want to call it that, that's what it is. But at the end of the day, via loving your shadow. Loving yourself when you've only ever rejected yourself. Accepting yourself when you've only ever condemned yourself. Loving, bringing into the light of your love, the light of your divinity, the light of your great grandness, all of the things that you think are wrong with you is how you shift into grace. Okay? And it's so much easier than being on top of your thoughts and changing your reality and ignoring everything around you so that you can try and shift everything that's going on. Okay? It is via loving your shadow that we are going to step in to the new law that states we learn by grace. We no longer learn through suffering. We no longer learn through opposite mirror. We start to learn who we are via an experience of who we actually are, which is divinity. Okay? So this is why self-love is the key to the new paradigm, which is learning by grace. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I'd love to hear from you. Find me on Facebook. Find me on Instagram. Come join the Patreon community. Links are down below. And I'll see you in the next video.